So we talked about Keynesian economics, and we said that recession occurs because demand falls, and demand falls because marginal propensity to consume is less than one. And the solution to this problem, according to Keynes, is that since C is reducing and I is reducing, the thing which should increase is G, so that the economy starts coming up again. And the poor are supposed to be having MPC is equal to 1, marginal propensity to consume is equal to 1. So Keynes says that as far as possible, try to give more money in hands of the poor. So fine, this was Keynesian solution. And as I told you, however much we do not understand or not understand, but we do not really agree with the Keynesian explanation of recessions, we have to agree with the solution that Keynes had given, and which is what governments of the world keep doing almost all the time. So in different forms, because Friedman, the person who was kind of a rival or an opponent of Keynes, said that what Keynes said is not right. And then he talked about the importance of taxes and monetary economics and things like that. So governments do try different things which make the economy come out of recession without damaging the economic institutions that exist. Okay, if that goes above your head, don't worry about it, because that is not very important. What is important is that governments have to act whenever recession occurs. Now, governments can act in different ways. So one of the theories which has also become very popular, and we need to understand that if we want to understand 2008 crisis properly. So another theory which is supposed to be a very major theory as far as explanation of business cycles is concerned is the rational expectation theory. So what does rational expectation theory say? So let's think of a situation where, say, there is some prime minister or president who gets elected or who just takes over power. And because that person has come and people do not have much faith in him, the Sensex or stock market with the indices, which is used anywhere in the world, it does not need to be Sensex, it can be Dow Jones or anything. So those stock market indices start falling. So that shows the first sign of some kind of fear, some kind of expectation that things are going to go down. That is the beginning. Once people see that the stock market indices are coming down, people might start feeling slightly scared that these people who are playing on the stock market are expecting that things are going to go bad. So maybe things are going to go bad. Now, should I invest or should I not invest? I don't want to take any risk at this time because it looks like the mood is negative. So I expect, because the stock market has expected, now I expect as an investor that things are going to go down. I will not invest. Because I won't invest, and because there are so many other investors who also rationally expect that the economy might go down, so they start not investing. When they stop investing, the total investment in the economy stops going down, and C plus I plus G, I has started going down. So when I starts going down, the people who are employed will now, because there is no growth for the economy, will see that their salaries and wages are stagnating. They are not growing. When the wages are stagnating, these people will now feel that, oh my God, that means that my wages might even go down, or at least it is not going to increase for long and prices of other goods are increasing. So my income might start falling short. I better start saving more. I hoard. I hoard money so that it lasts me for longer time because it looks like my incomes are stagnant. I stop consuming as much as I was doing before. C starts coming down. So I started coming down because of rational expectations. Investors rationally expected that because the stock indices are coming down, maybe economy will come down, so we will not invest. Because investors are not investing now, the salaried class and the wage earners will think that our incomes are not increasing, our incomes might start falling short if prices increase. They start hoarding money, they start saving more than spending, consumption comes down. So when C comes down, I comes down, naturally your gross domestic product is going to come down. And when that is going to come down, as we know, that situation is called recession, because now your supply is more than demand because people have stopped spending. Okay, so this is one more explanation of recession, and this is called the rational expectations theory. Okay, so now we know Keynesian economics, now we know rational expectation, two major theories. There are many other theories of business cycle, but at very introductory level of economics, you are not supposed to be knowing all of this. So we stick with these two, the most major theories, and we come to 2008. What happened in 2008? Okay, so what happened in 2008, you need to understand slightly that 2008, as I told you, 2004 to 2008, world went through boom. Everything was growing all over the world. The demand was growing, the supply was growing, production was growing, exports were growing, imports were growing, foreign exchange was becoming available to so many nations. Everything was going very well. That was 2008. I mean, it was continuing for 4 years. And everybody was in this gung-ho mood that whatever I touch will turn into gold for all you know. So when that was the case, there were many banks in USA who saw that they had a lot of money accumulating because people were earning a lot and they were earning a lot. So all those money was coming into banks. So the banks were flushed with money. And when they were flushed with money, they said, we want to start giving out this money also to people. And so they started giving out money to anybody who wanted money without seeing whether these people are capable of always paying back. So what one would call bad risks. One is generally very careful about giving loans, but they just started giving out loans because they had too much money. This is called subprime lending. Lending to the people who are secondary, whose risks are much higher. So it's not prime lending. It's not to the people who you know would always repay. This is for the people who are not going to pay back or who might not pay back. So this subprime people started getting a lot of money through the banks, and banks did not even keep the reserve ratio as much as they were supposed to. So a lot of times they lent much more than what they should keep with themselves to meet the demands of the depositors. All these things started happening in America. In India, it did not happen because the Reserve Bank of India holds you very tightly. So you would not be allowed to lend beyond a certain thing. Your statutory reserve ratio is supposed to be complied with very, very strictly as far as RBI is concerned. But it wasn't so strictly implemented as far as US was concerned. And hence, they lent more. And then, when these people did not pay, slowly the crisis started developing where banks realized that their money was not coming back. And now, whatever their depositors will demand, they don't have money for. And when banks started facing this crisis, other financial companies like Lehman Brothers, Arthur Andersen, all of these people also realized the same thing, that their money, which was invested in different things, was not now coming back because the financial system had started crumbling. So what triggered off the 2008 crisis, financial crisis, and put the Western economies in recession, in severe recession, was the subprime crisis. It started with that. Okay. Now, what happened was when the US banks started failing because of the subprime crisis, European banks had invested a lot in American banks. So, a lot of European banks' money were stuck in American banks. And when American banks started failing, the European banks realized that they are not going to get their money back, which means that now they will fail us. So, that's how Europe got affected. India had not invested that kind of money in American banking system. That is why India was saved. But this is what subprime process was all about. And this, when this happened, it is not what Keynes talked about. Keynes said, C will come down or I will come down. It is neither C nor I. Here it was financial system which crumbled. So when the financial system crumbled, finance is the blood for an economy. I mean, you borrow money, you lend money, you have interest rate, and everything basically works on credit for most of the businesses. And when this credit system, this entire financial system starts coming down, it affects almost all businesses. So the businesses start crumbling. So here it is a system which failed, system which started coming down. And when the system started failing, so naturally the businesses stopped getting the finance. When the businesses stopped getting the finance as easily as they could not function very efficiently. So they started going down. When the businesses started going down, the backward and forward linkages, the businesses from which they used to buy and sell, those also started coming down. So here was the crisis which did not start from the consumers. Here was the crisis which started from a financial system, which spread to the manufacturing and other sectors where the production was taking place. And because the production declined, the decline in production led to laying off of a lot of people. So thousands and lakhs of people lost their jobs. When thousands and lakhs of people lost their jobs, their demand started coming down, and slowly the economy started crumbling. So economies started crumbling because one of the important system of economy crumbled for whatever reasons, but it crumbled. And when that crumbled, it spiraled into downward move for the economy, which led to finally decrease in demand. Okay, and of course decrease in supply also, but decreasing demand also. So basically the entire economy is spiraled down, where everything went for a toss, whether it was a demand or it was supply. So this entire thing that supply should be more than demand or something did not actually happen. It was like the economy crumbled. And when the economy crumbled, and when this entire thing started going down, where your production is not working, your workers are not getting their salaries, and because of that, the economies are going down. Those economies thus went down. Now, knowing that Western world, whether it is European economies or America, USA. So when the Western world went down, when the economies started crumbling, naturally, the demand that these economies used to make from the rest of the world started going down. So this is how recession spread. So recession took time to spread. For example, as far as India was concerned, India was not affected. One reason is because, as I said, RBI tightly controls the systems. So if RBI says increase the interest rate, it's not compulsory that every bank has to increase it. But if they don't increase it, RBI would say, why are you not increasing it? And then you feel that you have to increase it. You are made to comply, and often shamelessly. So, I mean, we are the people who believe in some kind of a patriarchal authoritarian system as far as our family is concerned. So the same culture goes when it comes to the governments also and our systems also. So when we say that RBI is the parent company, then it is the parent. And if the parent shouts at you, you better listen. So this entire thing of holding down your financial system very strongly is something which RBI did, and did in fact quite well. And so because RBI was doing this, RBI made sure that the Indian banks don't fail. And when Indian banks don't fail, then naturally the financial system is not going to crumble down so easily, which is how most of these developing nations, which had this kind of controlled banking system, survived better than the Western economies. And they kind of swam through this crisis slightly more easily for the initial years, which is 2008, 2009, 2009 to 2010. They were sailing smooth because they did not allow their financial system to crumble. And uh, one of the things that government of India also did was that in and Reserve Bank of India, they said that if any bank fails and we feel that any bank is going through any kind of crisis, we will immediately lend money to it to make sure that it does not fail. Okay, we don't do that nowadays. We are not doing that, and that is why I was telling you that when Punjab National Bank failed, it was misery for so many people, and people died. But in those days, I'm talking about 2008, we did not allow any bank to fail. And this particular thing that India did basically made India ride through the recession, initial periods. But as recession remained in these economies, as imports, which these economies used to make, started coming down, the demand for exports for almost all the developing economies, which includes India, which includes all the BRICS nations, the demand started coming down from those people. We found a way out. What we did was we started trading with each other. So during that period, a lot of people changed gears. And instead of exporting to the Western economies, they started exporting to the southern countries. They started exporting to the eastern countries. And so slowly we were trying to adjust. But the decrease in demand was something which was quite strong because the richest nations of the world were not importing as much as they used to. Slowly, in spite of changing gears and whatnot, it started affecting everyone. And once again, that effect always spirals. That, say, for example, Africa realizes that now it can't export much and it is not receiving much in aid. Africa will also stop importing goods from Asia. And so Asia now will not have anybody else to go to but the Asian nations, or Australia for that matter, and nobody else. Southern American nations were already very strongly related with US economy. So they were already feeling the shocks. So slowly, everybody started going down. This is 2011. So this is how recession started affecting the nations of the world. And now how the nations of the world would have dealt with it is something that we will see very briefly. It is going to be a very brief lecture, the next one, but we'll see it in the next lecture.